Starfleet Academy was greenlit for a second season back in October. Was that because Paramount have loads of confidence in this show? That they think it's going to be a huge Trek phenomenon? Or is there a more boring reason why it's been greenlit for a second season? Welcome to the Tachyon Pulse podcast, part of the Star Trwk family.
Our tachyon pulse has been unable to completely penetrate the anomaly.
Before I tell you about Starfleet Academy, I just want to tell you a little bit about why Secret Hideout are in a race. They are in a race to get as much Star Trek in production as possible and to complete as much of Strange New Worlds and Starfleet Academy as they can before next summer. Next summer, when their contract ends with Paramount. Now, I've been telling you about rumours I've been hearing and rumblings that there's been advice put to Skydance from outside sources and their own assessment team that actually the franchise of Star Trek would be better off in someone else's hands, i.e. not Alex Kurtzman and not Secret Hideout. And that the best way to do that, when the contract ends in August 2026, is to not renew it and to actually just cancel whatever is in production at the time. Now, my understanding of the contract that Alex Kurtzman actually has with Paramount and eventually Skydance and their new owners will be that anything actually in production at the time that the contract ends can be concluded. So, for example, if the 5th season of Strange New Worlds is currently being filmed, which would be about right, maybe just they might be able to just finish it in time, but if it is about right, then the contract allows them to conclude production, conclude post-production and get the series on our screens. My understanding is that 5 seasons of Strange New Worlds is what is planned, and that's the most we're ever going to get anyway. In this case, obviously, they've concluded Season 3. We're about to get that on our screens. They're already going into pre-production of Season 4. That would give them basically 12 months to conclude Season 4 and get Season 5 into pre-production. I understand it actually has to be in filming, not just pre-production, for it to trigger this part of the contract. They would just have time to do that. So, even if the contract isn't extended, and remembering that an option for this negotiation would be just to, say, extend the contract but only for Strange New Worlds, for example. There's no reason for them to continue this broad Star Trek as a whole deal, giving complete creative control of Star Trek over to Secret Hideout. They could just say, look, we love Strange New Worlds, we're not so keen on this other stuff, so would you like a contract? Here's a contract, just produce that for us. Perfectly reasonable. But they would have time to conclude that 5th season, and I think that's what they're doing. So they are in a race to get as much in production and done as possible. But why does that mean that we've got a second season of Starfleet Academy already basically green-lit and planning to go into production immediately as soon as the first season is complete? They're actually planning to pretty much do this back to back. The reasoning for that has got nothing, I'm afraid, to do with the contract. It's got nothing to do with how confident they are or they think this is going to be a huge hit. It's simply to do with money and the cost of producing this series. I'm being told that actually the decision to greenlight 2 seasons was made when the decision to greenlight the first season was made. The announcement came along pretty much just because they'd signed Tatiana Maslany, She-Hulk, on as a guest star. I'm being told she may be one of the villains, I believe, onto the second season. So it was a good time to announce it, and it was about to go into filming, so again, it was a good way of whipping up a little bit of interest. But actually, as I say, the decision was made months earlier. Why? Star Trek is quite an expensive thing to do. It's an expensive show to make. And you want the budgets that go on the tax returns and everything to be as reasonable as possible. The problem is, particularly with this Starfleet Academy apparently, is that the sets are horrendously expensive to make. And they're big. particularly for Starfleet Academy. We've heard Akiva Goldsman and Alex Kurtzman talking about how some of these are the biggest sets ever built for any Star Trek show. Not just Star Trek show they've done, ever. So, those sets are expensive to build, but they're used throughout multiple seasons. So, what you do is, from Paramount, is you greenlight 2 seasons. You take the costs from a lot of this construction, etc., and you spread it out over those 2 seasons. So instead of having to report and put on your tax returns, etc., that you've spent, say, $20 million an episode on Star Trek Academy, you can report that you've only actually spent 10. Say you spend $100 million making 10 episodes, but you only spend $150 million making 20 episodes because all of those inherent costs are very heavy on the start of production. You can actually report the show only costing $15 million on average over the 2 seasons. That's better for your tax, it's better for your budgets, and to be honest, it's better when you then release this information, because spending a lot of money on TV shows does increase the expectation, and we've seen a lot of negativity aimed towards TV shows that are expensive to make. There is always some sort of variety or deadline story going, this show cost how much? You know, Rings of Power, The Last Airbender. To be honest, the list goes on of shows, particularly streaming shows in the last few years, that have cost a fortune to make. Look at Andor. That was a big splashy story when people realised how much Disney was spending on that. A show I really like, but my God, how did they spend that much money? So, that's where we're at. There is no particular confidence or special belief in Star Trek Academy that it's going to be a massive success. It's been greenlit for 2 seasons because, well, they decided to do one, and this way it cost less. They're going to produce those 2 seasons whether we like it or not, and basically, I actually think its popularity is going to be massively important on Skydance and whether they decide to renew this contract with Secret Hideout or not. Personally, I actually think the die's already cast on that, and I think they've probably internally already made a decision. And again, looking back at previous videos, we know what the advice had been by their own people to cancel the show in August 2026 and to move on with a new production team in-house, take control of Star Trek, and maybe even do some sort of reset that would take us back to the Prime Universe. I think a lot of fans would love that. I think a reset wouldn't be a bad idea because I think some of the storylines and things are a little bit confused. And as I say, Secret Hideout are desperately going to be trying to keep this contract because it's their main money cow. Please go and check out, again, a previous video talking about that. They may even be trying to do the things that they think Skydance want them to do now by doing a sort of soft reset. But is it going to be too little, too late? As I say though, the 2nd season of Academy doesn't mean anything. But guys, get into the comments and tell me what you think. Does this 2 seasons of Academy make sense, at least on a business level? And really, does it matter? We're coming to the end of the Secret Hideout contract. Skydance will be negotiating hard whether they get an extension or not. We should be seeing a new direction of Star Trek. So, are we really just treading water until that glorious day? Get into the comments and tell me exactly what you think. If you are new to the channel, please like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. It really helps us out and you'll never miss any of our new videos. Also, you can go to patreon.com/scitrek where most of our new videos do premiere first and you get to see them without the adverts. Go check it out. As always, please stay safe and I'll see you next time.